Kim Jong-un arrives in Singapore ahead of his summit with Donald Trump. U.S. and Canadian leaders in a battle of tweets after Trump pulls out of the joint G7 statement. And President Xi Jinping says China rejects selfish trade policies and calls for building an open global economy.
Hello and a very good evening, and welcome to our coverage of the build-up to the historic summit between US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore. The sit-down meeting between the two men on Tuesday is meant to settle a standoff over Pyongyang's nuclear program. We join TVB's Elmi Leung in Singapore for more. Well, Elmi, Kim's wasted no time since his arrival in Singapore today. He even managed a meeting with the Singapore Prime Minister earlier,
That's right,
didn't he?
Tony. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un touched down in Singapore earlier this afternoon, and he headed straight to his hotel in the city centre where security was beefed up. I was there outside the hotel earlier, and police cordoned off the area and told reporters that we are not allowed to go inside the hotel to film. And about an hour earlier, the North Korean leader met with Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. But for now, let's take a look at Kim's arrival. Throngs of reporters, crowds of curious onlookers, and a heavy police presence at Singapore Changi Airport marked the arrival of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un today. He arrived this afternoon on an Air China Boeing 747, which was loaned out to North Korea, especially for the trip. It deviated from the usual route flown by normal flights, flying instead through Chinese airspace before heading by Vietnam towards Singapore. Analysts say the roundabout route over North Korea's traditional ally China was to ensure maximum security for Kim. Singapore quickly released a picture of Kim being greeted by the Singaporean foreign minister on the tarmac.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is en route to Singapore. Before his departure, the US president cast his coming meeting with Kim as a one-time shot for the North Korean leader to ditch his country's nuclear weapons program and end its international isolation. Embarking on a self-described mission of peace, US President Donald Trump's foreign policy is facing its toughest test yet, as he attempts to personally broker an end to North Korea's nuclear program in talks with Kim Jong-un on Tuesday. Speaking after an acrimonious G7 summit in Canada and just before his departure to Singapore, Trump appeared to relish the coming encounter with Kim, with the element of the unknown adding to the excitement.
We're going in with a very positive spirit, I think very well prepared. It's unknown territory in the truest sense, but I really feel confident. I feel that Kim Jong-un wants to do something great for his people, and he has that opportunity. And he won't have that opportunity again. It's never going to be there again. Denuclearization, we have to get something going. We really think that North Korea will be a tremendous place in a very short period of time. I'll know whether or not something good is going to happen. I also think I'll know whether or not it will happen fast.
Unlike traditional summits between heads of state where most of the work is completed in advance, US officials say the only thing certain will be its unpredictability. And there are worries from the White House to America's East Asian allies that Trump's desire for an agreement will lead him to accept any deal, even if it's a bad one.
Now, US President Donald Trump has described his trip as a mission of peace. And although the summit will start on Tuesday and final preparations are underway, there's been very little information about the North Korean delegation. Earlier, we tried to find more answers from the North Korea embassy in Singapore, but was unsuccessful. We did manage to speak to some Koreans in Singapore, though, to find out what they think about the summit. And let's take a look. Tucked away in a commercial building is North Korea's embassy in Singapore. With little information about the office online, we tried to call earlier on a weekday, but staff hung up on us. We tried to figure out more in person back in early May when Singapore was identified as a possible location.
Okay, not. You have to go down
No luck even today. Our crew spent less than 5 minutes before ushered out. There are roughly 20,000 Koreans living in Singapore, mostly from South Korea. Some of them are excited about the upcoming summit between the United States and North Korea. Like this South Korean man who joined his sister about a year ago to work at her restaurant.
언젠가는 남한과 북한은
I think this is a one step forward to be reunited between South Korea and North Korea, and then as a young generation, we expect a lot from this event.
The siblings are hoping to share that sense of optimism with the community. Not only will they feature a special menu of Pyongyang cold noodles on the day of the summit, they will also be offering a 50% discount to all customers. Now, this on-again, off-again summit is filled with quite a lot of drama, and we'll be here in Singapore to bring you the latest developments. But for now, back to you in Hong Kong.
And that was Elmi Leung reporting for us in Singapore. Well, before Singapore was the G7, and Donald Trump refused to endorse a joint communique coming out of the G7 summit in Quebec, Canada. After leaving the summit early on his way to Singapore, Trump cited what he called false statements by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, describing him as dishonest and weak. Alan Buckner reports.
The joint communique said the leaders of the G7 countries agreed on the need for free, fair, and mutually beneficial trade and the importance of fighting protectionism. Before leaving for Singapore, Trump expressed optimism but repeated his protectionist stance.
At the top of the list was the issue of trade. Very important subject because the United States has been taken advantage of for decades and decades, and we can't do that anymore. But we're getting them straightened out, slowly but surely.
At the end of the G7 summit, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced they'd reached a consensus.
And I'm happy to announce that we've released a joint communique by all 7 countries.
But addressing the U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum, Trudeau also said Canada will retaliate with tariffs on $12 billion worth of American goods.
I have made it very clear to the President that it is not something we relish doing, but it is something that we absolutely will do, because Canadians, we're polite, we're reasonable, but we also will not be pushed around.
Trump responded with angry tweets from Air Force One, referring to what he called Justin's false statements, saying he'd instructed the U.S. representatives not to endorse the communique. Trump also ridiculed Trudeau's comment about not being pushed around, calling the Canadian leader very dishonest and weak. All that left the G summit as what many had predicted, a G6 versus 1. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
China kicked off a regional security summit yesterday aimed at tackling issues like terrorism, organized crime, and cybersecurity. Unlike the G7, Eurasian members of this group are celebrating unity. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, meeting got underway in the port city of Qingdao with a banquet and fireworks display. With China locked in a trade dispute with the United States, Chinese President Xi Jinping today called for an open and global economy. Xi said that China rejects selfish and short-sighted policies, but he made clear his country supports a multilateral trade system with the goal of building an open world economy. Xi spoke hours after U.S. President Donald Trump said he was backing out of the Group of 7 joint communique, thwarting what appeared to be a fragile consensus on a trade dispute between Washington and its top allies. China set up the SCO in 2001 to secure political, economic, and security cooperation among Eurasian countries and to counter American influence in Central Asia. While the bloc is dominated by China and Russia, it also includes Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, India, and Pakistan. Russian President Vladimir Putin used his time to express 2 concerns: First, he criticized Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal. Putin believes exiting the agreement could destabilize the region, which is why Moscow will continue to honor the deal. Exercising his observer status at SCO, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said U.S. efforts to impose its policies on others are a threat to all. Then Putin said he also shares the same concern Trump has about a renewed arms race, so he's happy to meet with Trump. He said nations including Austria have offered to host his summit with Trump. This follows a report the White House is currently working on a Trump-Putin meeting. As all SCO leaders pledge to strengthen security cooperation, on the sidelines of the SCO, Xi met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two signed deals on exporting rice and sharing information on the waters that run between their countries. Xi also said China would offer 30 billion yuan in loans to SCO countries.
Still ahead in our newscast. A lawmaker says he has information that subcontractor Fang Sheng is not the one who cut short steel bars at Hong Hom Station. A district council by-election underway in the Eastern District.
Hello， 我係甄子丹，我用咗匯豐 Premier 15年㗎啦。我嘅 Follow Life 就係令屋企人安心，所以我一早同佢哋做好準備。我嘅事業同好多人一樣，有高有低。做人好似打功夫咁，最緊要識得隨時應變。世界咁大，你實揾到自己成功嘅路。不過成就呢，唔係淨係局限於事業嘅，我嘅成就仲有我太太。有我太太睇住頭家，佢嘅成就仲大。
佢拍戲周圍飛，我哋都成日探班㗎。
不過無論我點忙，我無時無刻都諗住點樣照顧屋企人，諗住佢哋嘅將來。
其實都係好似我 take care 你多啲喎，老公。
咁啊係，等我專心啲拍戲，儲錢同投資嗰啲就交晒俾我太太同埋匯豐嘅 RM。匯豐嘅環球網絡俾到我哋好大嘅信心。
係啊，我哋去到邊都幫到我哋。
Lawmaker Michael Tien says, according to information he's obtained, someone else other than a subcontractor named by the MTR Corporation was responsible for the steel bar scandal at Hong Kong Station. Caleb Long reports.
The finger-pointing in the botched expansion works at Hong Kong Station in relation to the Sha Tin to Central Link project has taken a new turn. Several days ago, the MTR Corporation blamed subcontractor Fang Sheng Construction Limited for cutting some steel bars short at the station's construction site. Speaking to TVB News today, lawmaker Michael Tien refuted that allegation.
If the problem is with Fang Sheng, then you have to convince yourself what would be their motive. If they were to do it, they knew that eventually they would get caught. They're not going to save time or money.
Tien said, according to his sources of information, the problem surfaced when Fang Sheng was having difficulties connecting the steel bars with the couplers.
What really happened was that the previous stage, when they do the cement wall with all these couplers inside, the job was done very poorly to the point where Fang Sheng actually had problem doing what they're supposed to do. Okay, so they went to other people for help.
Tien said what he heard was that after Fang Sheng told the main contractor, Leighton Asia, about the problems, Leighton found someone else to finish the job. So what leads him to believe this?
Is that you need a hydraulic cutter to cut those steel cables. If you don't have the right tool, it's going to take you 2 days to shorten one steel cable. I've checked with the industry that for those who do the metal work, they really wouldn't have access to these hydraulic cutters.
Tien believes the MTR Corporation may have heard of this information but has no evidence to confirm it. He also heard the steel cables were cut at night without the presence of MTRC supervisors. To thoroughly look into the matter, Tien believes it's necessary for the government to establish an independent investigation committee. Caleb Long, TVB News.
Polling is underway until 10:30 this evening for an Eastern District Council by-election. 3 candidates are vying for 1 seat left vacant by the death of Councillor Alice Lam last year. Kina Chu has more details.
The 3 candidates in the by-election at the Kai Hill constituency are Anki Tan, Alice Lee, and Elaine Chick. Voters have been casting their ballots since 7:30 this morning. What do they expect of their new councillor?
Maybe working for the community located here for a long time or period. We don't have the MTR to this area, so we hope in the future she can improve the transportation to solve the problem here.
Some look for certain character traits in the candidates.
For the Hong Kong's good as a peaceful person, and then also can help Hong Kong build up.
She knows by the community and is easily approachable.
Anki Tan, who calls herself an independent candidate with the most community experience among the 3, was an assistant to District Councillor Alice Lam, who passed away last year. Tan hopes that Lam's previous supporters will vote for her. Alice Lee, a member of the election committee's social welfare subsector, said she interacts with residents of the area often and is confident that they are smart enough to know the truth. Even with the backing of 2 pro-establishment groups, the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong and the Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions, Elaine Chick said the battle is not an easy one. The 2 polling stations are located at the Chinese YMCA Chai Wan Center and the Su Sai Wan Community Hall. Voters can cast their votes until 10:30 tonight. They're reminded to bring their ID cards. Kena Chu, TVB News.
And from all of us, thanks for tuning in.
That's all from us. Bye.